Should I have stayed quiet when she swapped my $600 gift for a coloring book and destroyed my reputation? I still remember the exact moment I realized something was horribly wrong. I was standing in my sister-in-law's perfectly decorated backyard, surrounded by pink and purple balloons spelling out Happy Birthday Isla, watching my 8-year-old niece tear into a gift bag that should have contained 3 months of careful planning and $600 worth of love. Instead, she pulled out a $15 princess coloring book and a pack of cheap markers that looked like they came from a drugstore clearance bin. The confusion on Isla's face mirrored my own. She looked up at me with those big brown eyes, trying so hard to smile, trying to be polite like we'd taught her, but I could see the question there. Where were the books we'd talked about for months, the ones she'd been desperate to read, the signed editions I'd hunted down through rare book dealers across 3 states? But before I could say anything, before I could even process what was happening, my sister-in-law Scarlett's voice cut through the party chatter like a knife. Loud enough for everyone to hear, projected for the phone she had mounted on a tripod live streaming to her 2,000-plus followers, she said, "Oh, Amelia, you really shouldn't have. No, really, you shouldn't have. A coloring book for an 8-year-old who reads at a 6th grade level." The laughter that followed wasn't kind. It was that uncomfortable social media performance laughter, the kind that Scarlett's followers would eat up in the comments. I felt 40 pairs of eyes on me, felt my face burning with humiliation and confusion because I absolutely knew, that I had not bought those gifts. Let me back up and explain how we got here, because this wasn't just about one ruined birthday party. This was the culmination of 3 years of increasing tension, 3 years of watching my relationship with my niece slowly become a battlefield I never asked to fight on. I'm Amelia Thompson, 32 years old, and Isla has been the light of my life since the day she was born. My brother Benjamin married Scarlett Robinson 9 years ago, and for the first few years, everything seemed fine. Scarlett was a stay-at-home mom who started a mommy blog that eventually grew into a modest Instagram following. She documented every milestone, every cute outfit, every perfectly plated meal. It seemed harmless enough. But somewhere around Isla's 5th birthday, things started to shift. Isla began spending more time with me, asking if she could come to my apartment on weekends, begging to skip her mom's planned activities to hang out with her Aunt Amelia instead. It wasn't that I was trying to replace Scarlett or undermine her parenting. Isla and I just connected on a different level. We both loved reading, we both preferred quiet activities over the constant social media circus that Scarlett's life had become. I'm a children's librarian, and I'd been introducing Isla to books since she could hold a board book. By age 6, she was reading chapter books. By 7, she discovered the Moonstone Chronicles, a fantasy series about a girl who discovers she's the keeper of magical stones that control the elements. She was obsessed. She'd call me after finishing each book, talking a mile a minute about the plot twists and her favorite characters. For her 8th birthday, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I started planning in July, 3 months before her October birthday. The Moonstone Chronicles had 7 books in the main series, and the author, Victoria Hayes, had written 2 companion novels that were harder to find. I wanted to get Isla the complete set, but not just any copies. I wanted first editions, and if I could manage it, signed copies. I spent hours on rare book websites, checking estate sales, reaching out to collectors. By mid-August, I'd found a signed first edition of Book 1, The Silver Keeper, from a seller in Oregon. $320, but it was in pristine condition and signed with a personal message from the author. 2 weeks later, I found Book 5, Shadow's End, also signed, from a collector in Vermont who was downsizing. Another $180. The rest of the set I bought as beautiful hardcover editions, spending another $60 to get matching copies that would look gorgeous on Isla's shelf. But the real crown jewel of the gift was something I discovered in September. Victoria Hayes, the author, was going to be at a fantasy convention in Chicago in December, just a 2-hour drive from where we lived. She was doing a meet and greet, and tickets were only available for a limited time. $40 for an adult and child pair, non-transferable, with the names printed on the tickets. I bought 2 tickets, one for Isla and one for me. We'd make it a special Aunt-Niece Day trip. She could meet her favorite author, get the rest of her books signed, maybe even get a photo. I could already picture her face when she opened that envelope and saw those tickets. But I wanted one more thing to make the gift complete. I have a friend, Maya Chen, who's a professional illustrator. She does commission work for book covers and character art. I asked her if she could create a custom illustration of Isla as Lyra, the main character from the Moonstone Chronicles. Maya was thrilled by the idea and gave me a friend discount. $80 for a full-color, 11 by 14-inch illustration that she'd frame herself. The illustration turned out absolutely stunning. Isla is Lyra, holding the silver moonstone, her hair flowing in an invisible wind, determination in her eyes. Maya even included Isla's actual features, her brown eyes and the small scar on her chin from when she fell off her bike at age 5. It was perfect. Total investment, $640 and 3 months of treasure hunting, planning, and excited anticipation. I wrapped everything carefully, putting the 2 signed first editions in one package, the rest of the matching hardcovers in another, the illustration in a third, and the convention tickets in a special envelope I decorated myself with silver stars. I brought everything to Scarlett and Benjamin's house the morning of the party. Scarlett answered the door in full makeup even though the party didn't start for 3 hours, already dressed in her color-coordinated outfit that matched the party decorations. She did this thing where she smiled but it never quite reached her eyes. "Oh, Amelia," she said, "you're early." I told her I wanted to drop off Isla's gifts before the party chaos started. She directed me to the spare bedroom they were using as a gift collection room, and I carefully arranged my 4 packages on the table, making sure they were together and clearly labeled in my handwriting. The party started at 2 in the afternoon. Scarlett had gone all out as usual, with a catered taco bar, a custom cake decorated to look like Isla's favorite animated movie, and decorations that probably cost more than my entire gift budget. There were at least 40 guests, a mix of Isla's school friends, family members, and several other mommy bloggers that Scarlett had befriended. She had her phone set up on a tripod near the gift table, filming everything for her Instagram stories and planning to live stream the gift opening. Isla was genuinely happy to see me when I arrived. She ran over and hugged me tight, asked if I'd brought the you-know-what. I told her weeks ago that I had something special planned, and she'd been dropping hints all month that she hoped it was related to her favorite books. I winked and told her she'd have to wait and see. The party proceeded normally for the first hour. Kids played in the bounce house Scarlett had rented, adults mingled and ate tacos, and Scarlett floated through it all with her phone, documenting every moment for her followers. I noticed she made a point of positioning herself in every photo opportunity, especially when Isla was blowing out her candles. She literally stepped in front of my mother, Grace Thompson, to get the perfect shot. My mom caught my eye and rolled them. She'd been vocal about her feelings regarding Scarlett's social media obsession, particularly how it seemed to prioritize image over genuine family moments. But she tried to keep the peace for Benjamin's sake. Around 3:30, Scarlett announced it was time for gifts. She had everyone gather in a semicircle around Isla, positioned her phone to capture everything, and went live on Instagram. I watched her follower count in the corner of the screen, 2,100 people tuning in to watch a child open birthday presents. Isla started with gifts from her school friends, the usual array of craft kits, dolls, and gift cards. She was polite and gracious with each one, thanking her friends by name. Then she moved on to family gifts. My parents gave her a new bike, which got huge cheers. Benjamin's parents, who I call Mom and Dad Peterson, gave her a beautiful charm bracelet with a book charm already attached. Then Isla reached for my gifts. I felt that flutter of excitement in my chest, the anticipation of seeing her face when she realized what I'd found for her. She grabbed the first package, the one that should have contained the 2 signed first editions. She tore open the wrapping paper and pulled out a book. But it wasn't a Silver Keeper. It was a princess coloring book, the kind you can buy at any drugstore for $9.99. The kind with cheap paper that bleeds when you use markers on it. Isla's face fell. She looked confused, turning the book over like maybe the real gift was hidden underneath. Then she opened the second package, which should have contained the matching hardcover set. Instead, there was a pack of washable markers, 24 colors, probably worth $5. My stomach dropped. My hands went cold. This couldn't be happening. That's when Scarlett struck. "Oh, Amelia, you really shouldn't have," she said with that practiced inflection that sounded sympathetic but had an edge like broken glass. "No, really, you shouldn't have. A coloring book for an 8-year-old who reads at a 6th grade level." She laughed, and several of her blogger friends laughed with her. I tried to speak, to explain that this wasn't what I bought, but my throat felt tight. Everyone was looking at me with expressions ranging from pity to judgment. One of Scarlett's friends stage whispered, "I guess not everyone puts thought into gifts." Isla, bless her heart, tried to save face. She said, "It's okay, Aunt Amelia, I like coloring sometimes." But I could see the hurt in her eyes, the confusion about why her favorite aunt who understood her so well would give her something so generic and thoughtless. The party moved on, but I felt paralyzed. I kept replaying the morning in my head, walking into that gift room, seeing my carefully wrapped packages on the table. There had been other gifts there too, I remembered now. Several bags and boxes. I'd been so focused on arranging my own gifts that I hadn't paid much attention to what else was there. After gifts came more cake, more playing, more of Scarlett's endless documentation. I found a quiet corner and tried to make sense of what happened. Had someone stolen my gifts? But why replace them with cheap alternatives? Why not just take them? I caught my mom's eye across the yard. She was watching me with a strange expression, something between concern and anger. She excused herself from her conversation and made her way over to me. "Sweetheart," she said quietly, "we need to talk. But not here. Can you come by the house tomorrow?" The tone of her voice sent chills down my spine. "Mom, what's going on?" I asked. "Not here," she repeated, glancing at Scarlett, who was holding court near the dessert table. "Tomorrow. 10 in the morning. Don't tell anyone you're coming." The rest of the party was torture. I had to endure Scarlett's passive-aggressive comments, the pitying looks from relatives, and worst of all, the distance I felt growing between Isla and me. When I tried to pull her aside to explain, Scarlett swooped in with an excuse about birthday girl duties and photos. I left early, claiming a headache that wasn't entirely a lie. As I drove home, I kept checking my bank account on my phone at stoplights, confirming that yes, I had spent $640 over the past 3 months. The transactions were all there. The books were real. The illustration was real. The tickets were real. So where the hell were they? That night, I barely slept. I kept running through scenarios in my head, each one more disturbing than the last. Had Scarlett somehow switched the gifts? But why? What would she gain from making me look bad in front of the family and her followers? The next morning, I arrived at my parents' house at exactly 10. Mom was waiting for me at the door, and the expression on her face was something I'd never seen before. A mixture of fury and vindication and sadness all rolled into one. Dad was at his Sunday golf game, which I realized wasn't a coincidence. Mom wanted us to be alone for this conversation. She led me to the kitchen table where her phone was sitting face up. "Amelia," she said, sitting down heavily, "I need to show you something. And I need to apologize for not showing you yesterday. I hoped, that Scarlett would come clean on her own. I wanted to give her the chance to do the right thing." My heart was pounding. "What are you talking about, Mom?" She picked up her phone and pulled up a video. "I arrived early yesterday," she explained, "around 1:15. Scarlett was still getting ready and asked me to keep an eye on things. I was walking past the gift room and saw her go in. Something about the way she moved, sneaky-like, made me suspicious." She pressed play on the video. The footage was shaky at first, clearly filmed covertly from just outside the doorway. But the view was clear enough. There was Scarlett in the gift room, looking around like she was making sure no one was watching. Then she walked directly to my packages, the 4 carefully wrapped gifts with my handwriting on the tags. I watched in horror as she opened the first package, the one with the signed first editions. She pulled out the silver keeper, examined it with what looked like genuine surprise at its quality, then set it aside. She went through all 4 packages systematically, removing every single item I'd bought. The signed books, the matching hardcovers, the framed illustration, the envelope with the convention tickets. She placed everything into a large gift bag that was sitting on the floor, one I hadn't noticed when I dropped off my gifts. Then she pulled items from her purse. A coloring book. A pack of markers. She put these cheap replacements into my wrapping paper, sealed the packages back up, and arranged them exactly as I'd left them. The whole thing took maybe 5 minutes. Then she picked up the gift bag with my actual presents and walked out of frame, The video ended. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Why? I whispered. Why would she do this? Mom's jaw was tight. I've been watching Scarlett for a long time, Amelia. I've seen how she looks at you when you interact with Isla. I've seen the comments she makes, always just subtle enough to seem like jokes. She's jealous. Jealous of your relationship with her daughter. Jealous that Isla lights up around you in a way she doesn't around her own mother anymore. But to sabotage my gift, to humiliate me in front of everyone, in front of her followers, I couldn't finish the sentence. I stayed in that gift room for a few more minutes after she left, Mom continued. I wanted to confront her right then, but I also wanted to see if she'd confess. I thought maybe she'd feel guilty, maybe she'd pull you aside and admit what she did. She shook her head. But she didn't. She doubled down. She humiliated you publicly and she enjoyed it. What do I do, Mom? Those books, the illustration, the tickets. They're somewhere in her house. I need them back. Mom's expression hardened into something fierce. Oh, we're going to get them back. But first, I need to show you something else. I've been doing some digging. She pulled out a folder from the chair next to her. Inside were printouts, screenshots from various websites. I recognized the format. Online resale sites, places where people sell used items and collectibles. Look at this, Mom said, pointing to the first page. It was a listing from 3 months ago. Designer watch, men's, luxury brand. Listed by an account with the username Scarlett Mom Life. The price was $700. I don't understand, I said. That watch was a Christmas gift from Mom and Dad Peterson to Benjamin last year, Mom explained. I remember because we all went shopping together to help them pick it out. $800, Benjamin's first real luxury item. He was so proud of it. She flipped to the next page. A bracelet, delicate gold with small diamonds. $500, listed 2 months ago. Same username. That bracelet was gifted to Isla from Benjamin's grandmother for her 7th birthday, Mom said quietly. It was an heirloom. Grandmother Peterson was saving it for Isla to wear when she got older. Page after page, Mom showed me listings. Designer handbags that had been gifts to Scarlett from Benjamin's family. A vintage camera that had belonged to Benjamin's father. Even some of the toys that Isla's grandparents had given her over the years. How did you find all this? I asked. I've had my suspicions for a while, Mom admitted. Little things going missing. Benjamin mentioning he couldn't find his watch. Isla asking about her bracelet and Scarlett saying it was being claimed. So I started looking. Scarlett Mom Life isn't exactly a hard username to connect to Scarlett Robinson, mommy blogger. And she never bothered to hide the location on her listings. Same zip code. I felt sick. She's been stealing gifts and selling them for cash. For over a year, based on these listings, Mom confirmed. I'd estimate she's made at least $5,000, maybe more if there are listings I haven't found yet. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of it all settling over us. Then I asked the question that had been burning in my mind since I saw the video. What do we do now? Mom's eyes glinted with something that reminded me why people said I got my stubbornness from her side of the family. Now, we give Scarlett exactly what she craves. Attention. Just not the kind she wants. Over the next few hours, Mom and I crafted a plan. First, we compiled everything. The video of Scarlett swapping the gifts. Screenshots of all the online listings with her username. We even found the actual sold listings with buyer reviews mentioning the seller's quick shipping and perfect packaging. Mom had been thorough. She'd cross-referenced dates of family gatherings with listing dates, matching items she remembered seeing as gifts with items that appeared online weeks later. She'd even found Scarlett's Venmo account, which showed deposits that corresponded with the listing sale dates. The evidence was damning. Scarlett Robinson, the perfect mommy blogger with her curated life and her 2,000 followers, had been systematically stealing from her own family and selling their gifts for cash. But we needed to be strategic. Going to Scarlett directly would just give her time to craft a narrative, to spin the story for her followers, to paint herself as the victim. We'd learned enough about her tactics to know that she'd find a way to make it about her. Instead, Mom suggested we go to Benjamin first. He deserved to know what his wife had been doing. But when we called him, he was out of town for work, wouldn't be back until Tuesday. That gave us 2 days. 2 days of me stewing in anger and humiliation. 2 days of Scarlett posting about the successful birthday party on her Instagram, including a story post about how not everyone puts effort into gift giving with a carefully angled shot of the coloring book and markers. Her followers ate it up. The comments were brutal. Who gives a coloring book to an 8-year-old in this day and age? Some people just don't understand kids. At least the party itself was beautiful. Scarlett, you did an amazing job. I wanted to comment, to defend myself, to post a video right there on her Instagram. But Mom made me promise to wait. We do this right, she said. We do this once, and we make sure it sticks. Monday was agony. I had to go to work at the library, had to smile at children and help them find books, all while my mind was churning with rage and hurt. I kept thinking about Isla, about how confused she must be, about how she probably thought I didn't care enough to get her a real gift. I texted Benjamin on Monday evening. Just a simple message. Hey, when you get back tomorrow, can we meet for coffee before you go home? Important family stuff. He responded quickly. Is everything okay with Mom and Dad? They're fine, I assured him. Just need to talk to you about something. Noon at Moretti's. Tuesday morning crawled by. I met Mom at 11:30 and we walked to Moretti's together, the folder of evidence in her bag, the video queued up on her phone. Benjamin arrived right at noon, looking tired from his trip but happy to see us. What's going on? He asked after we'd ordered coffee. The smile on his face faded when he saw our expressions. Is someone sick? No one's sick, Mom said gently. But we need to show you something, and it's not going to be easy to see. We found a corner booth, away from other customers. Mom slid her phone across the table and pressed play on the video. I watched my brother's face as he saw his wife systematically sabotage my gift to his daughter. Watched the confusion turn to shock, turn to anger. When the video ended, he just sat there for a long moment. I don't understand, he finally said. Why would she do this? That's not all, Mom said quietly, and opened the folder. We went through everything. The online listings. The sold items. The dates that corresponded with family events. The watch he thought he'd misplaced. The bracelet his grandmother had given to Isla that Scarlett claimed was at the jeweler's for cleaning. Benjamin's hands were shaking by the time we finished. He kept going back to the listing for his watch, staring at it like he couldn't quite believe it was real. My grandmother's bracelet, he said quietly. She sold my grandmother's bracelet that she gave to Isla. There's more, Mom said, pulling up Scarlett's Venmo history on her own phone. She'd found a way to access Scarlett's public Venmo transactions, the ones Scarlett hadn't bothered to make private. We estimate she's made at least $5,000 selling family gifts over the past year. Maybe more. Benjamin put his head in his hands. I knew things weren't perfect. I knew she was stressed about her follower count dropping, about sponsorships drying up. But I never thought she'd do something like this. What are you going to do? I asked gently. He looked up at me, and I saw something hard in his eyes that I'd never seen before in my easygoing elder brother. I'm going to go home, and I'm going to confront her. And depending on what she says, I'm going to make some decisions about my marriage. Benjamin, Mom started, but he held up his hand. No, Mom. This isn't just about stealing gifts or making Amelia look bad. She humiliated my sister in front of 40 people and 2,000 online strangers. She stole from my daughter. She sold a family heirloom that was meant to be Isla's. This is about character, and I'm realizing I may not know my wife's character as well as I thought I did. We sat with that for a moment. Then I asked the question I've been holding back. Can you get my gifts back? The books, the illustration, the tickets. I want to give them to Isla the way I planned. Benjamin's jaw clenched. I'll get them back. Whatever it takes. He left the coffee shop, and Mom and I sat there finishing our drinks in tense silence. I felt run out emotionally but also strangely relieved. The truth was out, at least within the family. Whatever happened next, I wouldn't be carrying this alone. My phone buzzed an hour later. Benjamin. Found everything in her closet, hidden in storage boxes. I'm so sorry, Amelia. I'll bring everything to your place tonight. That evening, Benjamin showed up at my apartment with 2 large boxes. His eyes were red-rimmed, and he looked exhausted. We sat on my couch and he told me what happened. He'd gone home and waited for Scarlett to finish her afternoon Instagram stories about a sponsored smoothie maker. Then he'd asked her to sit down because they needed to talk. He'd shown her the video first. According to Benjamin, Scarlett had immediately gone into defensive mode. She claimed it was a joke, that she was planning to give Isla my real gifts later, that she just wanted to teach me a lesson about bragging to Isla beforehand and building up expectations. But when Benjamin pointed out that she'd sold other family gifts online, that he had proof of every listing and transaction, she changed tactics. She cried. She said she was under so much pressure to maintain their lifestyle, to keep up appearances, that sponsorships weren't enough anymore. She said she didn't think anyone would notice a few missing items. A few missing items, Benjamin repeated to me, his voice hollow. My watch that my parents saved up to buy me. My grandmother's bracelet that was supposed to be Isla's heirloom. Your months of effort and hundreds of dollars. Just a few missing items. What are you going to do? I asked. I told her I need space to think, he said. I'm staying at Mom and Dad's for a few days. I need to figure out if this is something we can come back from, or if it's a sign of something fundamentally broken. He gestured to the boxes. Everything's here. All your books, the illustration, the tickets. They're in perfect condition. She hadn't sold them yet. Thank goodness for small mercies, I said bitterly. Benjamin left shortly after, and I spent the evening unpacking my gifts, checking each item. The signed first editions were pristine. The matching hardcovers were exactly as I'd bought them. Maya's illustration was even more beautiful than I remembered. The convention tickets were still sealed in their envelope. Everything was there. Everything except the moment of seeing Isla's face light up when she opened them. The next morning, Wednesday, I woke up to chaos. My phone was exploding with notifications. Text messages from cousins, aunts, uncles. Missed calls from numbers I didn't recognize. And tagging notifications from Instagram. With a sense of dread, I opened Instagram. The first thing I saw was Scarlett's profile. Her follower count had dropped from 2,100 to 1,300 overnight. Her most recent posts were flooded with comments, and none of them were supportive. I scrolled back and found the source. Someone, I later learned it was one of Scarlett's fellow mommy bloggers who'd been at the party, had taken screenshots of the family group chat. The chat where my mother had posted the video of Scarlett swapping the gifts. Mom had waited until Tuesday evening to post it. She'd included a simple message. I thought about staying quiet to keep the peace, but I've realized that protecting someone from the consequences of their actions isn't peace, it's enabling. My daughter spent 3 months and over $600 finding the perfect gifts for her niece. This is what her sister-in-law did with those gifts. The video had been downloaded, screenshot, and shared across multiple platforms. The mommy blogger who'd leaked it had added her own commentary. I was at this party and witnessed this poor aunt get humiliated for bringing a coloring book. Turns out it was never a coloring book. This is absolutely disgusting behavior from someone who preaches family values and authenticity online. The internet had done what the internet does. They dug deeper. They'd found Scarlett's resale accounts. They'd matched up her Instagram posts about receiving gifts with the listings of those same items days or weeks later. They'd calculated that she'd made at least $7,000 selling family gifts, more than we'd originally estimated. Her sponsors had started dropping her. The smoothie maker company posted a statement distancing themselves from Scarlett and her values. Other brands followed suit. By Wednesday afternoon, Scarlett had lost all 4 of her active sponsorships. Her followers turned on her completely. The comments ranged from disappointed to vicious. How could you steal from your own child? This is fraud. You literally humiliated your sister-in-law for clout when you were the villain all along. The worst part is you did this on a live stream. You wanted people to see her pain. Scarlett tried to do damage control. She posted a Notes app apology that hit every influencer apology cliché. I'm sorry if anyone was offended. I was going through a difficult time financially. Mental health struggles. Bad judgment. Please respect my family's privacy during this difficult time. The internet wasn't buying it. Neither was the family. The group chat that Mom had originally posted the video and was blowing up with relatives expressing shock, anger, and support for me and Benjamin. Aunt Clara said she'd noticed a necklace missing after Thanksgiving last year. Uncle Marcus said some collector coins he'd given to Isla had never made it to her room. Benjamin's parents called me personally to apologize, even though they'd done nothing wrong. They were mortified that their daughter-in-law had stolen and sold gifts they'd carefully chosen for their son and granddaughter. By Thursday, Benjamin had made his decision. He met with a lawyer. By Friday, he'd filed for separation and started divorce proceedings. He cited the theft, the betrayal of trust, and the pattern of deceit as irreconcilable differences. Scarlett's perfect curated life fell apart in less than a week. She lost her followers, her sponsorships, her marriage, and her reputation. The mommy blogger who built her brand on authenticity and family values had been exposed as a fraud and a thief. But the story doesn't end there. Because even though justice was served, even though Scarlett faced consequences, there was still one person I needed to make things right with. On Saturday, exactly 1 week after the disastrous birthday party, I called Benjamin and asked if I could take Isla for the day. He agreed immediately, understanding what I wanted to do. I picked Isla up at 10 in the morning. She was quiet in the car, which wasn't like her. I could tell she was confused about everything happening with her parents, about the whispers and tension in the house. We went to my apartment, and I set up her real birthday celebration. I decorated with silver and blue streamers, her favorite colors. I'd gotten a small cake from her favorite bakery, the one that makes the chocolate raspberry cake she loves. And I'd carefully arranged all her gifts on the coffee table. Isla, I said, sitting down next to her on the couch, I need to explain something about your birthday party last week. Those gifts you opened from me, the coloring book and markers, those weren't the real gifts I got you. She looked at me with those big brown eyes. They weren't. I shook my head. I spent 3 months finding the perfect presents for you. And someone switched them out before you could open them. But I got them back, and I want you to open them now. The right way. Just you and me. I watched Isla open her gifts the way I'd imagined she would a week ago. Her gasp when she unwrapped the first signed edition of The Silver Keeper. Her squeal of delight when she realized it was signed by Victoria Hayes herself. Her tears of joy when she opened the rest of the matching set. But nothing compared to her reaction to the illustration. She held it up with shaking hands, staring at herself as Lyra, the heroine of her favorite books. "Aunt Amelia," she whispered, "this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." And when she opened the envelope with the convention tickets, when she realized we were going to meet Victoria Hayes in December, she threw herself at me with such force we almost fell off the couch. She hugged me tight and cried, happy tears this time, real joy untainted by confusion or social media performance. We spent the rest of the day reading together, eating cake, and talking about which books she wanted to get signed at the convention. She asked me questions about what happened, why her mom did what she did, and I tried to answer honestly without being cruel. Sometimes people make bad choices when they're scared or jealous, I told her. Your mom was worried about a lot of things, and she made some really wrong decisions. But that's not your fault, and it doesn't mean she doesn't love you. Are you and Mom going to be okay? Isla asked quietly. I don't know, honey, I said honestly. That's something your mom and I are going to have to work on. But I want you to know that no matter what happens with the grown-ups, you and I are solid. Always. You're my favorite niece in the whole world. I'm your only niece, she pointed out with a small smile. True, I admitted, which makes you extra special. You don't have any competition. That made her laugh, and hearing that sound, seeing her smile again, felt like exhaling after holding my breath for days. Benjamin picked Isla up that evening, and she ran to show him all her gifts, chattering excitedly about the convention in December. Over her head, Benjamin mouthed thank you to me, and I could see the relief in his eyes. Whatever else was broken in his life right now, at least his daughter was happy. The following weeks were a whirlwind of family drama and legal proceedings. Scarlett tried to fight the separation, hired a lawyer who argued that Benjamin was overreacting, that marriage counseling could fix things. But Benjamin had made up his mind. The trust was broken, and he didn't see a way to rebuild it. The family mostly rallied around Benjamin and me. There were a few relatives who thought we were being too harsh, that we should forgive and forget for Islah's sake. But Mom shot that down quickly. Forgiveness doesn't mean no consequences, she told them. Scarlett didn't make one mistake. She made dozens of calculated decisions over more than a year to steal from her family and humiliate her sister-in-law publicly. That's not a mistake, that's a pattern. Benjamin got primary custody of Isla, with Scarlett getting supervised visitation while they worked through the divorce proceedings. Scarlett's online presence never recovered. She tried to restart her blog with a redemption arc, but people didn't forget. Her follower count settled around 500, mostly hate watchers waiting to see her fail again. The most satisfying moment came in late November. Benjamin's lawyer had managed to track down most of the buyers of Scarlett's stolen items through the online marketplaces. Several family members, including Benjamin's parents, got their items back, either through voluntary returns or small claims court. The watch, the bracelet, even Aunt Clara's necklace were returned. Scarlett was ordered to pay restitution for the items that couldn't be recovered, which totaled just over $4,000. She had to sell her designer handbags, her professional camera equipment, and several other luxury items to cover it. The irony of her having to sell her own possessions to pay for the family items she'd sold wasn't lost on anyone. In December, I took Isla to the fantasy convention in Chicago just like I'd planned. Benjamin came too, making it a family day. We drove the 2 hours listening to Isla chatter excitedly about meeting Victoria Hayes, about which parts of the book she wanted to discuss, about whether she should tell the author about the illustration Maya had made. The convention center was packed with people in costume, vendors selling books and art, and panels about fantasy writing. But the highlight was the meet and greet. We waited in line for 45 minutes, Isla clutching her stack of books and practically vibrating with excitement. When we finally reached the front of the line, Victoria Hayes was everything Isla had hoped she'd be. Warm, enthusiastic, genuinely interested in talking to her young fan. Isla showed her the illustration of herself as Lyra, and Victoria's face lit up. "This is incredible," she said, examining it closely. "Who's the artist?" "My Aunt Amelia commissioned it for my birthday," Isla said proudly, reaching back to grab my hand and pull me forward. Victoria smiled at me. "You're raising a reader. That's a precious gift." She signed all of Isla's books, including the 2 first editions I'd found, adding personal messages to each one. In The Silver Keeper, she wrote, for Isla, who carries her own moonstone in her heart, "Keep reading, keep dreaming." In Shadow's End, she wrote, to a fellow keeper of stories, "May your adventures be as magical as Lyra's." Victoria even posed for photos with Isla holding the illustration. The pure joy on my niece's face in those photos is something I'll treasure forever. Benjamin took dozens of pictures, and for once, I was grateful for the documentation. These were memories worth capturing. On the drive home, Isla fell asleep in the back seat, exhausted from excitement, her new signed books clutched to her chest. Benjamin and I talked quietly in the front seat. "Thank you," he said, "for not giving up on her. For making sure she got the birthday she deserved." "She's my niece," I said simply. "I love her. Nothing was going to stop me from making this right. I know Mom already apologized, but I need to say it too. I'm sorry for what Scarlett did. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I'm sorry you had to go through the humiliation." I glanced at him. "You didn't do anything wrong, Benjamin. You're not responsible for her choices. I married her," he said quietly. "I brought her into this family. I gave her access to people who trusted her. In some way, I am responsible." We drove in silence for a moment. Then I said, "You know what I think? I think you're a good man who was deceived by someone very skilled at deception. I think you're doing the right thing now by protecting Isla and holding Scarlett accountable. That's what matters." He nodded, not quite accepting it but appreciating the words anyway. The divorce was finalized in March. Scarlett got visitation rights, but they were limited. She'd have to prove she was working with a therapist and addressing her issues before they'd consider expanding her time with Isla. Benjamin got the house, primary custody, and Scarlett had to pay child support despite her dramatically reduced income. The family dynamic shifted too. Holiday gatherings became more relaxed without Scarlett's phone always recording, without the pressure to perform for an invisible audience of followers. Isla seemed happier, more herself. She spent more weekends at my apartment, and we started a tradition of reading new books together every Friday night. My relationship with my brother deepened too. Going through something like this together, standing up for what's right even when it's hard, that creates a bond. We talked more, supported each other through the difficult months of lawyers and court dates and helping Isla adjust to a new reality. Mom never apologized for posting that video in the family chat, and I never asked her to. She'd done what needed to be done. Sometimes keeping the peace means speaking the truth, even when it breaks things open. Especially then. The online aspect of the story eventually faded. The screenshots and videos made the rounds on various social media platforms for a few weeks became a cautionary tale about influencer culture and authenticity. Then the internet moved on to the next scandal, the next viral moment. But the impact on our family was permanent. I learned some valuable lessons through all of this. I learned that sometimes the people closest to you are fighting battles you can't see, and those battles can make them do terrible things. I learned that jealousy is a poison that affects the person who holds it more than anyone else. I learned that social media can turn real human moments into performances, and in doing so, strip away the genuine connection that makes those moments meaningful. But most importantly, I learned that standing up for yourself and the people you love is worth the discomfort. It would have been easier to let it go, to accept the humiliation, to avoid the family drama. But easier isn't always right. Sometimes you have to blow up the piece to build something more honest in its place. Scarlett tried to reach out to me several times over the following months. Apology emails that I deleted without reading. Text messages that I blocked. She showed up at the library once, wanting to talk, and I had security escort her out. I wasn't interested in her apologies or explanations. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. Maybe that makes me unforgiving. Maybe a better person would have given her a chance to make amends. But I kept thinking about that moment at the birthday party, watching Isla's face fall as she pulled out that cheap coloring book. I kept thinking about Scarlett's calculated cruelty, the way she'd orchestrated my humiliation for content, for likes, for that hit of validation from strangers online. She hadn't just switched out gifts. She'd tried to damage my relationship with my niece for social media engagement. That kind of calculation, that willingness to hurt people for such shallow reasons, that's not something I could forgive or forget. Benjamin was more generous with her than I was, for Isla's sake. He allowed the supervised visits, encouraged Isla to maintain a relationship with her mother. He even attended some of Scarlett's therapy sessions at the therapist's request to discuss co-parenting strategies. He's a better person than me in that way. But he also maintained boundaries. Scarlett wasn't invited to family gatherings. She wasn't included in holiday celebrations. She got her time with Isla, but it was separate from the rest of the family. We'd all agreed that trust, once broken so completely, couldn't simply be restored with apologies and time. Now, almost a year later, life has found a new normal. Isla is thriving. She's in 4th grade now, still reading voraciously, still calling me every time she finishes a book she loves. We're planning another convention trip for next month, this time to meet a different author whose series she's recently discovered. Benjamin is dating someone new, a teacher he met at one of Isla's school events, and she seems genuinely kind and normal in all the best ways. Mom started a blog of her own, ironically enough, about standing up to toxic family members and setting healthy boundaries. It's gotten a modest following, mostly from people dealing with similar situations. She uses it as a platform to remind people that family doesn't mean accepting abuse or manipulation, that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is hold people accountable. As for me, I'm still working at the library, still connecting kids with books that will change their lives. I'm more careful about social media now, more aware of how it can distort reality and turn genuine moments into content. I post less, live more. I've started dating someone too, a man I met at a library fundraiser who thinks my book collection is charming rather than excessive. And every time I look at the photos from the convention, at Isla's face lit up with pure joy as she meets her favorite author, I remember why I fought so hard to make things right. Those moments, the real ones that happen away from cameras and live streams and follower counts, those are what matter. Those are worth protecting. The signed books have a place of honor on Isla's bookshelf. The illustration hangs in a room, right above her bed, so it's the first thing she sees when she wakes up and the last thing she sees before sleep. The convention tickets are in a scrapbook we made together, along with the photos and the personal messages Victoria Hayes wrote in her books. Sometimes Isla asks me about what happened with her mom, why things changed, why our family looks different now. I tell her the truth in age-appropriate ways. I tell her that her mom made some bad choices, that grown-ups sometimes struggle with jealousy and insecurity, that those struggles can lead to hurtful behavior. I tell her that it's okay to love her mom and also recognize that what she did was wrong. I tell her that she's not responsible for fixing her mom or making her happy, that she's just a kid and she deserves to be a kid. And I make sure she knows, every single day, that she is loved. Not for content, not for likes, not for how she looks in photos or how well she performs for an audience. Just loved for exactly who she is. That's the gift I can give her now. The gift of knowing that some relationships are unconditional, that some people will show up for you without expecting anything in return, that love doesn't have to be performed or documented to be real. Looking back on that terrible birthday party, on the humiliation and hurt and anger, I can see now that it was a catalyst. It exposed something that had been festering in our family for years, something that would have only gotten worse if it had stayed hidden. Scarlett's jealousy and manipulation, her willingness to sacrifice real relationships for online validation, that was only going to escalate. In a strange way, I'm almost grateful it happened when it did. Grateful that it happened over a birthday gift rather than something even more important. Grateful that Mom had the foresight to record that video. Grateful that we found out about the stolen gifts before more damage could be done. The other day, Isla told me she wants to be a writer when she grows up. She wants to write stories like the ones in the Moonstone Chronicles, stories about brave girls who discover they're stronger than they knew. She asked me if I thought she could do it, if I thought she had what it takes. I told her what I know to be true. That she already has the most important thing a writer needs, a huge heart that feels things deeply and wants to share those feelings with the world. The rest is just practice and time. She hugged me tight and said, "I want to dedicate my first book to you, Aunt Amelia. For giving me the best gifts and for always being there." I told her she didn't have to do that, but she insisted. She said, "You showed me that the best gifts aren't always things. Sometimes the best gift is just someone who sees you and loves you and shows up for you no matter what." Out of the mouths of 9-year-olds, right? She understood something that took me years to learn. That the real gift I gave her wasn't the books or the illustration or the convention tickets. It was the consistency of my love, the reliability of my presence, the security of knowing that at least one adult in her life would always put her needs above their own ego. That's what Scarlett never understood. She was so focused on the external validation, on the likes and followers and sponsorships, that she lost sight of what actually mattered. She had a daughter who loved her, a husband who was devoted to her, a family who had welcomed her. But it wasn't enough because it wasn't public enough, wasn't documented enough, wasn't getting her the attention she craved. I hope she's learned from all this. I hope the therapy is helping her understand what she threw away and why. I hope she's building a genuine relationship with Isla, one based on real connection rather than content opportunities. But honestly, that's not my concern anymore. My concern is Isla, and Isla is thriving. The story of the swapped birthday gifts has become family legend now, the kind of story that gets told at gatherings with a mixture of disbelief and dark humor. Can you believe she actually did that? People say, shaking their heads. The audacity, the calculation, the sheer brazenness of it all. But for me, it's more than just a story about a birthday party gone wrong. It's a story about the importance of truth, about standing up to manipulation, about protecting the people you love even when it's uncomfortable. It's a story about how sometimes the right thing to do is the hard thing, the thing that causes conflict and drama and forces everyone to take sides. And ultimately, it's a story about love. Real love, the kind that shows up with carefully chosen gifts and months of planning. The kind that stands up for itself when disrespected. The kind that rebuilds what's broken and creates new traditions when old ones are tainted. The kind that says, you matter to me, not because of how you made me look or what you can do for me, but simply because you're you. That's the story I want Isla to remember. Not the drama with her mother, not the public humiliation or the viral videos. Just the simple truth that her Aunt Amelia spent 3 months finding the perfect gifts because she loves her that much. That when those gifts were stolen, I fought to get them back. That I made sure she got the birthday celebration she deserved, even if it came a week late. Because at the end of the day, that's what matters. Not the performance, not the documentation, not the social media narrative. Just the quiet, steady truth of showing up for the people you love, over and over again, in big ways and small ways, regardless of who's watching or what you might gain from it. That's a gift that can't be swapped out, can't be stolen, can't be sold online for quick cash. It's a gift that keeps giving, year after year, building a foundation of trust and love that nothing can shake. And that, I think, is the best gift of all.